Yo.
What's happening, y'all? We back. We visit. The Martymar Show, episode 9. I'm happy to be back on, y'all. I got a special guest with me today. But before we get into all that, it's been a while, y'all. Been working on some different things and stuff like that. But I'm definitely excited to continue to bring this work of, just communicating to people about the various things that are going on in society. As we know, so thank God the pandemic seems to be slowing down. But however, let's kind of get back into what we're going to talk about today. So, episode 9 of the Martymar Show, we are going to be talking about mental health. And today's title is called Being Mindful. Now, my special guest is also my fraternity brother, Al Al. I'm very excited to have him on. So, without further ado, let me introduce to you guys my guest, Johnnie Geathers. How are you, brother?
Good, brother. Ow,
Hey, yeah, we got the bros in the building. We got the bros in the
ow.
building. So I'm happy to have you on, bro. Definitely been watching everything that you've been doing. So before I even get to all that, let the people know who you are. Tell them a little bit more about yourself.
All right. So, everyone, my name is Johnnie Geathers. I am a mental health therapist for Family Links Incorporated under their therapeutic classroom model. So, most people will want to know what a therapeutic classroom model is. So, basically, what it is that my position is where I'm assigned to a school within Pittsburgh Public School District where I do individual and group therapy with the kids in the therapeutic classroom. Along with that, I mainly will work with the kids, making sure that they get their needs met so they can transition back into a mainstream classroom setting. Along with that, I work with the school in terms of like the staff, teachers, and then also work with the families as well, because most of the time families need those resources as well to get through the whole phase of their child being in a therapeutic classroom. Outside of my work in terms of therapy. I do a lot of different speaking engagements. Last year, I launched JG Mental Health Fridays during the start of this pandemic, just as a way to help people, and it's been going strong. And along with that, I continue to do the work in the community along with my fraternity, Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, um, which I actually joined the fraternity fall 2009 at Penn State. We're at 8 Alpha chapter, and currently I'm now with the Beta Omicron Omega alumni chapter here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And along with that, in terms of fraternity, I had a whole 3 positions within the chapter, regionally and nationally. And it's been growing ever since. And recently, I'm proud to say recently, even though
I already know.
yeah, even though Lamar put it out there, but recently I just passed my social work licensing exam. So
Yes, yes.
my credentials over to be a licensed social worker in the state of Pennsylvania. Also, with me having that license, I just garnered 2 positions. One doing part-time private practice work, and then another one doing some consultation pre-treatment work with another nonprofit organization that a close friend of mine um, actually is the CEO and founder of. So I'm looking forward to that. And people will get announcement on those 2 positions next month once everything is confirmed and finalized. But other than that, ever since passing this exam, everything just been opening up, and it just increased my expansion and the work that I love to do.
Thank God, man. It's dope to see everything that you're doing, especially you being an African American male graduating from Penn State University as well as the University of Pittsburgh. And for those who don't know, both universities are very prestigious, but especially in the social work world, we were just talking about this before the interview. The University of Pitt is like the program I was in at my university, Delaware State. I remember us constantly talking about the University of Pittsburgh, even, currently living in Pennsylvania, we constantly talk about the work that they're doing. So the program he came out of is very known for the work they do in social work. So kudos to you. Definitely about time you got this LSW. Because I remember me and him been talking about this for years now. So hey, it's not about when you get it, it's just the fact that you got it now. So I'm happy for you that everything has worked out, and just continue to work that you're doing. So let's go ahead and get into the interview. Let's talk about what made you become a therapist, right? Because let's be real, we don't get paid the most to do what we do. It's a stressful job. So what made you become a therapist?
All right, so mainly the first thing is overall in terms of therapy, I love helping others. And my niche of helping others started when I was younger. It started when I was 15. Growing up in Philly, my first volunteer experience was being a candy striper at Pennsylvania Hospital. So a candy striper is mainly someone that assists the nurses and the doctors with the patients, making sure that everything goes smoothly with the patients, giving them food, water, anything that they need, just to give them comfort while they're in the hospital setting. So after I had that experience with that, that's when I started doing more volunteer work, growing, continued along the lines, doing summer camp programs, volunteering at the Ronald McDonald House. Even during undergrad, when I was at Penn State, I became an AmeriCorps member when I was
Wow.
doing facilitating 2 summer programs during my term as an AmeriCorps member and things like that. I can tell you this in the beginning, my interest wasn't really in therapy and kind of grew from out of those experiences because originally what I really had wanted to do was I had wanted to be a pediatrician.
Wow.
Yeah, I had wanted to be a doctor. I either wanted to be a doctor or I had wanted to be a psychologist. That was the main thing I was talking about when I had got accepted into Penn State. But more so when I got into my major during undergrad, which my major in undergrad was human development and family studies. That's when I learned about the dynamics of different systems amongst individuals, families, and how all that stuff plays into part into, us as human beings. But then what garnered the interest in social work more was when I got into grad school. So when I got into grad school at Pitt and we was able to do our field placements, that's when we was able to determine like what do we want to do once we graduate. So my second field placement, which was during my second year of grad school, which was supposed to be your core field placement to decide on what you want to do once you graduate. That's when I had the experience of doing therapy. And that experience of doing therapy, I was working with adults that had co-occurring disorder. So people that out there that don't know what co-occurring mean is that individual that has a mental health diagnosis and then also dealing with substance and drug abuse.
Mm.
So I was dealing with that and basically providing therapy to those individuals doing group therapy and individual therapy. And based on that experience, I was, I kind of it kind of felt good to even be in that space. So that kind of led me to the point to say, you know what, this is what I want to do. I want to be a therapist. But then the main thing is I was trying to figure out at that time once I had graduated was what population do I want to serve?
Yeah.
And once I made that decision to decide on what population I want to serve, the main thing I thought about was kids because that was my go-to when I was getting all that volunteer experience and exposure before going to college and moving on, moving forward. And once I had graduated from grad school, like 2 weeks later, I started working as a therapist. So all my experiences to the job I'm at today, I've been doing therapy ever since getting my master's.
And that's dope too. And pediatrician, right? Though it's like medicine, you're still working with kids, obviously. But like, that compassion, the thing about a real doctor, a doctor that really wants to do it, it's that compassion mindset. And clearly, obviously, you have that because that's like a natural, I wouldn't say a natural transition, but it makes sense, right? Because
Right.
ultimately you're still working with kids, but it's just more so the mental part versus the physical. So that makes sense, but that's definitely dope. And it's funny how it lined up for you. You never really planned it, but you were always working with kids and just kind of volunteering in the community. And that's the type of therapists that we need that are really involved and engaged in the community, know what's going on, not just the typical sitting behind your desk, tell me how you feel, just more engaging. Like, let me really get to know who you are so I can help you.
Right.
So let me ask you this. What's, in your opinion, what do you think makes a good counselor? And be honest.
Okay. So first thing is being a good counselor, what you just said, honesty. So honesty is one. Um, the reason why you have to be honest is because of the fact of how individuals are pouring out to you what they're going through. So you got to be honest within yourself, but also be honest with the client that you're serving. And the thing is with honesty, the main thing with that is that clients can read off like body language and appearance and things like that. So if they see that you're not honest and genuine within yourself, they automatically will cut you off and say, "Well, I don't want to pour out to you because I already got a bad vibe from you."
True.
The second thing as being a good counselor is that you got to be able to um, have a good relationship with your client. So that therapeutic relationship is key because once you build that therapeutic relationship, that builds that builds the set of how therapy session is going to go with your client.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't really build that relationship and build that rapport with that person, you're not going to go anywhere. Regardless of who you're serving, regardless of who you work with, even down to little kids. When I work with kids, I work with. If you don't build a relationship with them, ask them like what they like, what they dislike, and just get to know them before you dig deep into their issues, what they're facing, they're not going to open up to you. So you got to be able to build that relationship. Um, Another thing is having empathy. So being able to imagine yourself being in that client's shoes of what they're going through. So whenever you empathetic with that client, that could be able to say, okay, I understand what this person is going through because I can picture myself being in their shoes. But then also there are moments and cases where our empathy goes into a different level because whenever someone pours out to you what they're going through, it might hit home to say, well, dang, I've been through this before too.
Right, right.
So I kind of relate to that. And another thing in terms of being a good, counselor is mainly just being open. So we got to realize that there are times that nothing is going to go as planned. There's nothing that's going to go within our, that we already got set up. So I know I learned this in grad school. Mainly, they told us that we're just a guide, or us as professionals, we're a guide, and the client is the expert. The client knows what they're going through. The client knows what's going on. We're just guiding them to what they need to do to get to their goals. So, mainly, we got to be open to what they want to, receive and what they want to reach out to. So those are the main qualities. And once you have those things, you're set. You're good to go.
And I like what you said, that the key part is for people who, when you guys listen in, he didn't bring up anything about the credentials obviously are important, but this job is not how can I put it? This job is not like a textbook job, right? Like, yeah, we learn from like the research and certain strategies, but to be honest, like he said, most of the strategies for myself that I use was just having that human interaction, just being a people person, just listening, what I mean? Not all the talking and following, the different just textbook stuff. And again, that's no shot at any other the research and things that's done, but it's more to it than that. I mean, people want to know who you really are. How can I connect with somebody, right? If I don't feel like I can even trust you,
Right.
how are you even respectful to me? So a lot of stuff that you said was a good
And
point.
the thing is, and also with that too, it's basically like common sense. Like you said, we don't really deal like going to like the textbook stuff that we learn in school and things like that. Like we understand that and we like respect what we learn from it, but mainly when it comes to certain things, when we deal with the people that we serve, we don't really deal with textbook stuff. We just go from what we know and we feel like what's in our heart to pour out to who we're serving. Also, if we even get to the point of getting to like that textbook vibe, that person that we're actually reaching out to, they're not really going to understand that stuff because they're not most of the time they're not really educated on that. Also, they don't really understand those particular things. So you got to meet them where they are and say, okay, I understand what you're going through. This is how you got to handle it. This, that, and the third. And just meet them where they are. Don't try to like put yourself on a pedestal to say, okay, I'm higher than you, so you should do it this way. Nah, you just do it as like a basic individual. Have like a honest and real conversation, and then take it from there.
And it's funny because what you brought up is kind of like, now one thing that is from the textbook that's good that you brought up was Maslow, meeting the needs. So, what I mean, that's what we need to do general as a people. Start focusing on what does the person really need, not what you want them to have, not what you think they should have, not what they think they should have, but ultimately, what is it that you need right now so I can help you be more successful? And that's not just mental health, that's in everything. So I appreciate you sharing that, and I appreciate your honesty. So, and you being in this mental health field, I would say you probably been in what, 10 years now, 11 years?
Uh, 8.
8. Oh, my bad. Look, I'm putting too many years on you. My
I
bad.
know. It seemed like 10 years though, but it's only
But what has been your greatest accomplishment in the mental health field? What do you feel has been your greatest accomplishment?
man. I have a lot, but if I was to put everything in a lump sum, the one word I could say is growth.
Hmm.
Just the growth of it overall. Um, like I told you before, like when I first started, 2 weeks after I had got done with grad school, I just started working. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to do. I just went with it and go with the flow. And since that, from all those different experiences working at different agencies and organizations, I was able to like grow from it. And where I am today, even though it's still like a learning experience. 'Cause right now with my current job, I've been with my job for 4 years now, but I grew from being in that job and grew from all those other experiences. Also, with the growth, it kind of lead into the moment of impact. And I can go deep into it because of the fact of personal things that happened to me.
Hmm.
So back in, I'll say 2018, end of 2018, around Thanksgiving holiday, I came back home to Philly, for the holiday to visit the family and things like that. And out of nowhere, I ended up having 3 seizures in my sleep.
Hmm.
So within those 3 seizures in my sleep, I ended up having to stay with my family for a few months just to figure out what was going on with me. Um,
Hold on. Now, you never had those anything prior before, no
no,
past
no,
history, family history, anything. Just
uh,
um,
no, that just happened out of nowhere.
hmm.
So when that happened, and I had to like stay with my family just to recuperate and get myself well and stable to come back to Pittsburgh. The main thing that stood out the most with that was I was worried about my job, not in terms like the workload or anything like that. I was worried about the kids and worried about the staff that I work with and things and the families too.
Hmm.
So during that time frame, while I was trying to get myself back well and stable, I was following up with like the teachers and stuff to see what's going on with the kids because I knew some kids that I had built like a very close relationship with that they was going to get affected by it for me being gone for so long. So I was able to talk to those teachers and they say, yeah, so and so is acting out because they worried about you. Well, maybe most of the kids is worried about you. They want to know when you're going to come back and things like that. And I said, well, I don't know when I'm supposed to come back myself neither. So everything is just a waiting situation. But when I got the, okay to say, okay, you come back to Pittsburgh and, you're well, back well and stable with your seizures. I haven't had a seizure since that third time.
Thank
They
God.
put me on medication. I still sticking to my medication this day. I had to change some different things within myself. I had to let some things go, let some people go, just to be able to get back well and stable for myself. So
Hmm.
when I came back to Pittsburgh in February in 2019, and I came back to work, it kind of like resonated with me how much impact I made in everyone's lives in that job, in the school setting and in the job setting itself. Because when I returned, so much love was poured, onto me
Hmm.
and things like that. And when I came, I can tell you, when I came back into the fight in the office, because I have my own office in the school, and then also I mainly was sitting in the classroom with the kids as well. So in my office, when I came in, there was like, some stuff like some cards and stuff on my desk. But then when I walked in the classroom, the whole classroom was decorated and like just saying, welcome
That's
back,
dope.
Mr. Yeah, welcome back, Mr. Johnny, things like that. And that touched me.
Yeah.
And then when I walked into the cafeteria to meet up with the kids, because it was breakfast time at that time when I came back into like the building. When I came back into the building, all the kids just rushed up on me and just hugged me up and everything like that. And then the whole cafeteria just started screaming and yelling and things like that because they was glad that I came back. And that was just amazing to say that how much impact I made in everyone's lives, especially how I still touched them even though I wasn't physically there while I was going through my own personal things. And that just goes to show like you never know how much impact you have in someone's lives until you realize what they say or what they feel or how they go through certain things because of what you pour into them.
Mhm.
And that time it just hit me to say, yeah, this is why I love doing what I love to do. And this is why I'm in this position to help others.
That's powerful. I was just sitting here reflecting, like I'm picturing, I was like picturing in my head, like you coming back and then just literally, because I work in the school too, so I'm picturing, we know how hectic cafeterias are, so to have all the kids rushing you is definitely a testimony of everything that you do. Let me ask you this question: can you describe like what's the population of your school? Like, tell us, are you allowed to tell us a little bit
Oh
about?
yeah, yeah. So the school the school in general, the school is it goes from pre-K to eighth grade. But the kids I work with under the therapeutic classroom ranges from first to third grade. So 6 to 9 year olds. And the thing is with that therapeutic classroom, the kids, it's up to them based on how they're able to meet their goals. So if a kid has to stay with us to third grade, that's okay. But the thing is, once they get to third grade and we see that they met their goals, they can be able to transition back into their mainstream classroom setting. So either they can go back to their neighborhood school that they came from, or they can either stay at the school that they're at right now. Because my school overall is a magnet school. So if the principal and the rest of the staff say, okay, we feel like this child should stay here based on the relationship they already built with all the other students and all the other staff and stuff as well, that we might let the families know to say, okay, we think that this child should just stay here just because of how much they've been doing well in the school instead of going back to the neighborhood school. Sometimes the neighborhood school that they came from, they've kind of had like a bad rep on them based on
Mhm.
like their previous behaviors in the past, but then also sometimes the school environment that they came from in the past wasn't really a good fit for them. So
Yeah.
we kind of noticed the difference between the two. But then also along those lines too is whenever we see that a child is doing what they're supposed to do in terms of us in the classroom, that we trying to push them out a little bit early. So there are moments where, well, all the kids in general, so they don't really stay in our classroom the whole time. So whenever they go like the specials like gym, art, science, and things like that, they all go into like the regular ed classes for those specials. But when we see like a kid is doing what they're supposed to do, and we feel as though they could try to go into like English, math, and other classes within their regular, grade level, then we can say, okay, let's try it out, see how it is with them, just see how well it goes. And then we see that they're matriculating and doing well in a mainstream classroom setting based on how we're pushing them out, step by step, then that's when we say, okay, it's time for them to transition out because we want to keep them in the therapy classroom forever. And that's the main purpose. You're not in there forever. Even if that child has to stay with us to third grade, they're not in our classroom forever. Because once they hit third grade, it's time for them to decide. Well, it's time for us as professionals, but then also time for the parents and the families as well to decide on, okay, this is time for your child to transition out the classroom. This is, and the thing is, we all have like a team meeting where we decide, okay, even though this child's neighboring school is this, we feel as though this child might need more therapy support. So there's another therapeutic classroom that goes from, another grade level that they can go to when we try to build that gap to say, okay, this is where your transition should go to and things like that. Just try to help the family and say, okay, this is time for this child to transition. And we just walk them through the steps of having a child transition out the classroom. And I can tell you, it has been a process with that as well. Because some kids, they don't really want to leave the room. They don't really want to leave the room
Mhm.
because of the relationship they have, not just within myself, because it's myself, there's a paraprofessional teacher, and then there's the main teacher that teaches the classroom. And us three together, we work as a team in itself. So that team bond builds within the kids in that classroom. And sometimes the kids, and we all realize there are moments where the kids don't really want to go to school and they hate school, but then our kids in our classroom, they love to come to school because of us.
Yeah.
So when they get to that point where it's time to say, okay, it's time for y'all to leave and try to transition out, it is a process with the kids in itself because they do not want to leave. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna give you an example with that because recently we had a kid that we was trying to fight for him to stay with us another year just because he wasn't doing well during this pandemic. He wasn't logging on virtually and things like that until we was able to come back into the school building. So when we was able to come back into the school building, we noticed the improvements because he was glad to be back in school. But we have wanted to fight with the school and the school district to say, okay, we want this child to stay because he's not ready to transition. He's not ready to. We think he needs more, support and more another year with us so he could be prepared to transition out.
Right.
But that didn't work out in that sense. Close to like 2 days before the last day of school, we found out that we did have to transition him out. But the good thing is with him transitioning out, he's not transitioning going to like the mainstream classroom. He's transitioning to go to another therapeutic classroom, but then also a step ahead, he's also going to get life skills because that was the main thing that he needed
Mm.
too, based on his diagnosis and based on what he was going through um, health wise as well.
Yeah, that's and I understand exactly the dynamics of what you're talking about because I used to work in a program like that, and trying to coordinate with the outside school district on what we were doing to make sure the kids can transition back appropriately. It's a beast. I mean, I agree. Like, having that dynamic with the staff you work in there makes a difference with the kids that you guys work with, right? Because if they see y'all all working together, y'all being respectful, well, I should be doing the same thing. But like you said, if they're in the public school setting and it's chaos, this is why I don't function and do what I'm supposed to do. So
Right.
you pointed out a lot of good points with that.
And then also too, and what stands out too with the relationship within us three adults in that classroom, other kids in the school see it too. So like, I have kids that come to me in that school that's not even in the therapeutic classroom that will come to me and say, "Well, Mr. Johnny, can you talk to me real quick? I want to talk to you about something." But there's some moments where I do pop in the classrooms, well, pop in at some of their when they like are going to like special, this the special classes like gym and things like that. I sometimes will pop in to sit in with them just to see how they're doing and how they're vibing with the other kids. And then some of the other kids, they will come up to me and say, "Well, I want to talk to you because this is going on," or things like that. And I'm open to talk to them. And then I had some teachers that would reach out to me and say, "Well, when you have a chance, can you talk to so and so because this person is going through it," and things like that. And I say, "Yeah, I don't mind, I don't mind talking to other kids as well." And then you had some other kids be like, I was in your class. And I'm like, "Why?" Because it was like, and they will tell me, they was like, "Well, because we see that y'all have fun, but then also we see that y'all care about,
Mm.
kids and things like that." And yeah, I'm like, yeah.
And it's great. When you really even think now, for the listeners that's going to listen in, when you think about what he's saying, this is first through third graders talking about they got a lot going on. So that tells you the trauma, the trauma, drama, all that stuff that's going on in these homes. For our first grade, now I had a lot going on when I was younger, but this generation, they got so much going on. Like, I ain't gonna lie, some of the stresses they got is like adult stuff that they shouldn't have to deal with. So I can
Even
only imagine.
Right, even down to like the older kids, like the fourth and fifth graders that I actually like knew when they was first and third graders when they was working with the other like the kids I had in the therapeutic classroom before. The older ones that's in fourth, fifth, sixth grade, they still will come up to me and talk to me and chat up with me when they want to as well. So it just shows that impact that they see from what we pour out to our kids, they want some of that too.
So let me ask you this: what are some benefits of counseling? Because
Um,
before you answer that, let's be real. A lot of minorities, people, period, but definitely minorities, are skeptical about getting counseling. So what are some benefits if I was to get it?
Okay, so benefits, a counselor mainly is just someone that you can be able to pour out your personal things to. Can there are moments automatically, especially us in the Black community, the main thing we was taught is that, oh, you should toughen it up, especially with men, you should toughen it up. You shouldn't be able to pour out your emotions like that. This is not what you're supposed to do. But now time has changed where us men is now being able to open up and say what's going on, say what's on our minds. So being able to talk to somebody and just, embrace what's going on. Another thing with that too is with and the thing is with this too is that with families, um, we get that notion to say whatever happens in this house stays in this house.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to get out that mind state
Mm-hmm.
and we got to be able to open up in them and say, okay, you might need to take a step further and seek professional help. So seeking that professional help, the benefits are is being able to see what else is out, what alternatives can be done, being able to open up to what's going on outside of what you're getting from other people in terms of like family, friends, and things like that. Because sometimes we pour our stuff out to family and friends, and they don't really understand what we're what's going on, what we're going through. So that's why it's important to seek counseling. Another thing is with that too is that with counseling, everything is confidential. So it's not like your business is going to be put out on Front Street. Everything is confidential. The only time it's not going to be confidential if it's something where you're at a point that safety comes in hand, like where you're harming yourself or where you're harming others and things like that. If you're like prone to like something that's real deep and in a crisis mode, that's the only time where confidentiality has to get broken. But whenever you pour yourself out to a counselor, you're able to say, okay, my information stays in house with them because of the confidentiality that we had to follow. And I can be honest with everybody out there too. I have been to therapy on 3 different occasions. So, and the good thing is with my job, we have an EAP program. For people that don't know what an EAP program out there, what it is, EAP program is an employee assistance program. The employee assistance program is where we're able to say, okay, we need, a therapist or things like that, because most of the times we go through personal things ourselves. So we reach out to our EAP program and say, okay, we need therapy. They assign us to a therapist within our area. And we get, 6 free sessions. And I, took lead to say, okay, I'm gonna do it. The first time I had got therapy was it 20, I think it was 2018. Yeah, 2018. The first time I had got therapy because I was putting myself down and thinking I was a failure because I kept failing that license exam too many times. I think around that time I failed it, I think for the fourth or fifth time, um, where I had wanted to seek therapy for that. The second time I went to therapy was when I had came back to Pittsburgh after I was getting well with after overcoming those seizures and things like that. And I said, you know what? I want to, continue to be on that positive road, and don't want to backtrack when I come back to Pittsburgh. So as soon as I came back to Pittsburgh, I said, you know what? I'm going back to therapy. So I reached out to my therapist on that, and we worked some things out to get 6 free more sessions to be able to stay stable within my personal health. And then the third time I went to therapy was last year. Last year during the rise of the pandemic, because during the start of the pandemic, lo and behold, I had got furloughed. I had got furloughed from my job, and I was kind of like anxious and worried. I'm like, how are they gonna furlough us at a time like this, knowing that the kids gonna need us more than ever based on this pandemic and things like that. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna overwhelm myself. I'm not gonna overwork myself to that mind state. And that's when I went to therapy. Basically went to therapy on three different occasions. And those 3 different occasions, I went to therapy for free just because of the EAP program. But then also there was a time that the therapist always told me, they was like, well, if you want to get, therapy past those 6 sessions, then you could, sign up to get, that long-term therapy where you go through your insurance and things like that. But after those 3 moments, after those, those 6 sessions on those 3 different occasions, been fine. And the thing is, to this day, is I still reach out to my therapist like through email, just giving them a heads up, like what's going on, because they always was, follow up and check in with me to see what's going on with me personally, and then also what's going on with me work wise. So that communication still, still there. But I know if I need to go back to therapy again, I already know who I can reach out to.
I thank you for sharing that because most people wouldn't even share that. So I definitely thank you for sharing that. And it's good to hear that an African American man saying that you went to therapy and it actually worked and you were honest enough with yourself. Nobody had to pressure you. You didn't have to go through this. You realized for yourself, this is what I need at this time to not only deal with some things, but to continue being successful. Because I think that's the key. A lot of people just want a quick fix, but you really need to continue to do this. And you said you went 3 times. and now look where you are today. So, definitely kudos to you for acknowledging that, because as we know, mental health is a big deal right now. But a lot of people don't know how to address it, the stigma, so on and so forth. But again, you know, it needs to be done, right? So, in talking about that, let me ask you this question, especially when it comes, because clearly throughout this interview we've been talking, I can tell obviously you have a passion for working with the kids, and it's clear that the kids really love you. So, do you feel like more schools need? No, the question I want to ask: do schools need more mental health services in the future? Do you think
I
schools?
say yes. I say yes. And the reason why I say yes, because of the fact of my experience working in a therapeutic classroom setting. And it doesn't really have to be to a point where um, kids need to be placed in the therapeutic classroom, because in Pittsburgh, the only reason why therapeutic classrooms exist because certain organizations fought fought for therapeutic classrooms to be in schools. So with my organization, we have four therapeutic classrooms and within the district. There's another agency that has a couple of schools that has therapeutic classrooms, and then other agencies, so on and so on. So there's different organizations here in Pittsburgh that have therapeutic classrooms within the school district. But I feel as though more mental health professionals should be in the school setting, not just in terms of therapeutic classrooms, but just also just being there when it's needed. Especially at a time like right now,
Mhm.
especially with us, hopefully maybe around this time, if the kids is all able to go back to school um in the fall, hopefully that could be a big, that could be a big opportunity, because I could say that all the kids suffered during this pandemic. Um, like dealing with virtual learning, transitioning in terms of transitioning back into school, transitioning going back to school only like 2 days a week, transitioning going back into school wearing a mask, transitioning going back into school can't really use paper and pencil and things like that. Still got to use computers while you're physically looking at the teacher dead in the face. Um, what else? Also, just issues that's going on in the home that they bring into the school environment. That's everyday life right there that kids go through. Um, Mainly just had like I said before, I agree that more mental health professionals need to be in the school. And the good thing is, if more mental health professionals be in the school, you never know how much impact you can make in that child's life, because that could help them grow to where they could become later on when they get to our level as adults.
I totally agree with you. I mean, you already knew I was gonna say that, but definitely I agree. It's the kids need it more than ever. A lot of kids depend on us. I think sometimes the teachers don't realize the amount of conversations we have, the impact we have with these kids, the things that we do. Like, it's a lot that goes on. Then it wears on us too, right? Because on dealing with all the other kids' problems, on top of then doing whatever your job responsibility are, you also have your personal life. So it's a lot that weighs on you. But the work that we do is needed, and definitely schools need to make more funding for that. And I think that would decrease a lot of the issues that happen in schools with kids not feeling overwhelmed. Because let's be real, and obviously we want our kids to learn, right? But it's
Right.
that pressure of getting high grades and passing the Pennsylvania state testing, so the school can look good. It's a lot of pressure that these kids have to face, and it's from an early age. Kids,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure your kids do testing, first grade and so on and so forth. So,
Mhm.
it's just a lot for our kids. So, and it's not to say that they can't handle it, but they definitely need the strategies to be able to handle it,
I like, and the thing is, I like how you said it does start on early on. Like it can even start in kindergarten. Like these kids get pushed on. I'm like,
Hmm.
like a 4 or 5 year old going through certain things that they not really supposed to be going through. They're supposed to be learning the base. Well, it's not even learning the basics, but mainly getting through the basics, like ABCs, one, two, threes, things like that. But then also they got to worry about the stuff that's going on at home. Sometimes they got to worry about what's going on, like with their siblings and things like that. It's just so much going on in a child's life that we don't really realize what's going through. And I don't know if it's because, and then also the thing is, I don't know if it's because of the climate change and how things has changed right now, because now it's like more where kids are kind of pressured to do certain things because of the fact of how parents and grandparents and so on didn't really get to have that kind of exposure, didn't really get to have that kind of experiences. So now they putting the pressure on the kids saying, well, we want you to do this because we didn't get to do this back in our day, or we want you to do this because we see you doing this, but not really letting the child decide on what they want to do within their own selves. So they automatically get pressured at a young age. Also, now it's being more open and being more shown because we never know. It kind of actually probably happened in the past. We never know. Probably with us growing up, we kind of went through certain things and we didn't really picture it, but no, behold, as adults and reflecting on it, it's like, but dang, my
Yeah.
parents forced me to do this, or my parents wanted me to do this and that, but I didn't really feel comfortable doing it. But I did it anyway because I didn't want to make them mad, or I didn't want them to get them upset and things like that. So we kind of, kids get pressured on certain things that we don't really know, don't really know.
So that kind of segues perfectly into the last question I wanted to ask you. What advice could you give to parents with mental health? Because that's real. When you bring up mental health, especially to minority families, they like, ain't nothing wrong with them, or they crazy, or they just don't
Yeah.
listen. But what advice would you give to that parent to handle that? Like, what do you think?
All right. So the advice I could give the parents that is dealing with a child that is dealing with mental health. I don't want to call it issues or nothing like that. I want to say mental health situations because that's what it is. It's mainly situations that they're going through that is affecting their mental health and their well-being. The main thing the parents should do first is listen. Listen to what the kid is saying. Listen to what is going on because they're sometimes kids don't really open up as much to their parents and stuff because of the fact of they already automatically know that if they was to talk to somebody, well, talk to their parents, they might get cussed out. They might say, "Oh, leave me alone. I want to talk to you about this," and
Mm.
things like that. But parents need to have a time to say, "Okay, I'm open. I'm here. I'm ready to listen to you." Also, being able to talk to your kids, like communicate with your kids and ask them like how they're doing, what's going on, how school, how things are at home, things like that. Because right now we're so much at an age. Right now in society today, we're so much in an age that we don't really talk to each other as much.
Mm.
There are moments where we say, "Oh, hi, bye," and things, but we so much busy. But then realizing now with this pandemic in the beginning actually has slowed us down where we was able to get stuck in the house and there was no excuse where we got to be able to open up and talk to each other. So being able to communicate and talk to your child. And then lastly, the main thing is supporting the child. So I know with the kids that I work with, I mainly will work with the families as well too, because sometimes the families don't really know what's going on with their child in itself. And sometimes they automatically will quick to judge, say, well, my child is not like this because they don't act like this at home, and things like that. But you got to be able to tell the parents, say, okay, but this is what we're seeing, and this is what we want you to do at home, so you can be able to support them. So mainly support the child. So again, if y'all missed it out, the main thing, the three things were listen to your child, listen to what the child has to say, talk to them, and just support them. Those main three things.
Mm. And what makes it so simple about it, that's just just really just basic parenting, right? So I thank you for sharing that. So as we close out, um, what do you else do you got going on? This was a dope interview. You definitely highlighted a lot of things. You made me think about a lot of things, even as I prepare to go back, or as we both go back to prepare for the upcoming school year, how to work with our students. What do you got going on coming up? This is your time, social media handles, how can people
All right.
follow you? Go ahead, this is
Okay.
your time.
All right. So everyone, you can contact me. Well, you can follow me on Instagram at JG the Mastermind. On LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn, Johnnie Geathers, MSW. Soon that would change because once I get my license, I can be able to add my new title to that. Also on Facebook, if you want to reach out to me on Facebook, it's Johnnie RM Geathers. Um, Even when you follow me on social media, I do, like I explained in the beginning of this episode, I do JG Mental Health Fridays, and JG Mental Health Fridays is a way where I do video segments where I talk about different topics that we all go through, and I provide couple exercises that all of us can do just to get through life on a daily basis. And with JG Mental Health Fridays, I actually launched it last year around the time that I had just got furloughed from the job. So that kind of was an open a door for me to say, okay, even though I'm furloughed from the job, I can still help people regardless. So that's when I was able to launch that. And it was since then, it's been a year and a month, no, a year and 2 months now that I have been doing JG Midnight Fridays on social media. And then recently this year in January, I launched a YouTube channel. So all my JG Midnight Friday videos are on there that you can check out just to learn more about, different things and just being able to maintain your well-being. Also, I have a website through Wix. Um, for Wix, you could just type in jgathers1224.wix, W-I-X, site, site.com/, jgathers, where you can go on my website, just learn about my journey, about me being in this field. Also, you can check out the JG Mental Health Friday videos on there, different accomplishments that I was able to achieve since, getting my MSW, and different podcast episodes that I've been a part of in the past. And then soon, once this drops, but add that on the website as well. And then different ways to contact me. So like if you want me to be a part of different speaking engagements and things like that, I'm open to it as long as you reach out to me. And that's a big thing that's been happening too ever since overcoming everything with my health reasons and all that things like that. I was able to open up more and speak about my journey in this field and show the people that I am a living testimony and I'm in this field for a reason. And I just love every opportunity, everything that comes into my life, because there's a way I can be able to reach out to others and be an inspiration to others. So those are, things I have. Few things I got coming up is soon I will announce next month the two positions I'm gonna be working with on top of my full-time job with Family Links. Um, Also, there are some things that's coming up soon that I can't really announce just yet because I just confirmed it a couple of days ago. But soon you'll see like a flyer
We
posted
can't
out.
get it exclusive. We can't get it
I just confirmed it a few days ago, and I don't want to put it out there just yet because I wanted everything to be finalized on that. But I already know it's going to happen because I was the one that actually helped create it, so they couldn't go against it. But yeah, but other than that, that's all. Everyone also within the fraternity, if anyone that's in the Pittsburgh area right now, we are doing a detailing raffle where we are having individuals that's interested in getting their car interior, the interior of their car cleaned and detailed. We having that right now until August 22nd. So all you have to do is just cash at $20 to $ Pittsburgh IOTAS to get into the raffle, only if you're in the Pittsburgh area. But then also to our brothers and our sweethearts, if you're coming here in Pittsburgh in September, the weekend of September 4th for our cookout, you could be able to enter into the raffle as well, because if you want, and if your name gets selected, then you can get your car detailed and just taken care of while you're here with us during the weekend of the 4th of September 4th for the cookout. So yeah, that's what we have coming up. And there's other things that's along the lines that's coming up that will be announced soon. But if y'all all follow me on social media, I blast everything out. Just whatever I got coming up, whatever Pitt School of Social Work has coming up, whatever the fraternity has coming up, I'll blast it out just so people can get the resources and get in where they fit in.
Well, definitely. I thank you, good brother, for being on. This was definitely a dope interview. And shout out to you, man. You got a lot going on. It's a lot coming up. It's a lot of opportunities for people. And I would suggest y'all really get to know him and engage him. Just in my time knowing him, it's definitely been a blessing to know him and see what he's doing. And we try to encourage each other whenever we can. So just happy to see that he's doing what he's doing in his community, and I'm doing in my community. It's all about working together to build the community. That's what this is about. So I hope everybody has learned something today. about mental health and its importance, and especially everybody, but definitely our children, right? Because if we catch it early, they don't have to worry about it as adults. You know what I mean? Or they're able to handle it. So with that being said, we thank you for being on. This is the Martymar Show, episode 9, Being Mindful. God bless. God bless his people, and enjoy y'all day, y'all.